Web shop operators score a small victory in the first phase of what could be shaping up to be an intense court battle. Good evening, everyone. I'm Keishla Adderley.
And I'm Kendino Knowles. Well, just hours after the government ordered their shutdown, web shop businesses have lived to see another day. Today, the Supreme Court ordered an injunction preventing the prosecution of operators. Our Fern Carey has details of the ruling.
The legal battle involving web operators is all about protecting their rights, according to their attorney Wayne Munroe. And he contends that web gaming is legal, and he's asking the court to prevent authorities from shutting them down. And Munroe did not take long to sway the court. He emerged a short time later with an injunction allowing web shops to remain open and conduct business as usual, without interference from the police, the government, the Ministry of Tourism, or the Attorney General.
According to the jurisprudence in the case, there's a triable issue. The court didn't have to decide whether we were going to succeed, but simply whether there was a triable issue and whether the balance of convenience favored the grant of the injunction. Bearing in mind that businesses would be disrupted, third parties like workers, creditors, trade persons would be disrupted, and there would be no prejudice really to the respondents. The judge determined to grant the injunction.
Munroe represents 6 major web shop groups. Former Attorney General Alfred Sayers represents Paradise Game. The web shops were, among others, forced to close Wednesday night after the government ordered them to do so immediately or face arrest and prosecution.
The problem that we have in the Bahamas is people tend to ascribe all power to one arm of the government, and generally that's the executive government. The courts have their place, the executive has its place, and the legislature has its place. We're contesting what the legislature did in the act and asking for the consideration of what the act does. We came here today to enjoin the action of the executive. So in a way, the reason that we could say to the court that we require this injunction is because the Prime Minister made it plain he was going to soldier on.
Munroe described the court victory this way.
One must feel a degree of satisfaction that the people, the human beings who work in these establishments can have some peace of mind. I'm understanding that absenteeism had been up because people were just quite frankly afraid. A lot of times in this country we're not very Christian in thinking about other people and what is happening and affecting other people. Being your brother's keeper does not mean putting your foot on his neck and pressing down. Does not mean putting him out of a job.
Now the case has been transferred to Chief Justice Sir Michael Barnett. At that time, Munroe will argue his case. A date has not been set for that hearing. Fern Carey, ZNS Network News.
Now, web shops were open for business as usual today, supported by that Supreme Court injunction. Patrons of many of the establishments were seen entering and leaving throughout the day, and at least one that we entered on Collins Avenue was packed, although our cameras weren't allowed inside. As we sat outside, an armored truck pulled up at an FML location in the Grove and appeared to be making a pickup or drop-off. The patrons we approached declined to comment. In fact, they tried their best to avert our cameras.